But at the Halifax County High School tonight, we're fortunate to have with us College of Architecture give us more information. Of course, something we're really interested in through this process is getting feedback from as many places as we can. And the Williams Book Service is the key part of any decision that we make moving forward. At this time, I pleasure to introduce Dr. Mark Winterberg, our school superintendent.
Good evening. Thanks for coming out tonight. I really appreciate it. It's been a nice crowd here tonight. I'd like to thank Joe Gasper, our school board chair, and Walter Potts, who is on our school board, for coming out this evening as well. See, so Ms. Dalton just came in as well. Ms. Dalton as well. So I appreciate those folks coming out. Really appreciate everybody being here tonight. This is a big discussion that we're having regarding our high school and what to do in the high school. Today you have a link just on the school facility aspect. We have all the information out there from the calendars of when we're going to engage the public, to PowerPoints, to the actual study. Please get on our website and take a look. We met last week, we had an open house, and we took questions from the open house that some of them we couldn't answer, and some of them that we said, okay, we don't know. And we answered the questions, we put them up on our website as well, so we can give feedback. I mean, we'll do that again tonight. We'll take notes, and we're videoing tonight, and whatever questions we have, we'll try to answer for you as well. Please ask questions at the end of the night. We want to hear from you. We have not made a decision on anything yet. We want to just be as open as we can to talk about what our best options are. We're going to do vast community outreach for the next couple of months to engage our community in discussions. September the 18th, here at the high school, Michael's going to reach out to his parents to come here September the 18th. And then as we get into October, we don't write these dates down. We'll put it on the website. We'll have call-outs. We'll do 4 schools a week. We'll do 4 schools first week and 4 schools second week. We'll have folks that will go out on campus and present about our schools. Then we'll do churches or other community spots, and we'll share exactly where we are in the process. We need to hear from you. We need you to give us feedback. We need you to help us through the process. Wherever we end up, it's going to be extremely important to have the entire community on board with us. We look forward to having you involved in the process. At this time, I'll turn it over to Stephen Halsey, who is our architect at Mosley. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, and Mike as well. Just to reiterate what Mark said, this is an exciting time in the process. There's a lot of work that's been done planning-wise and study. It's occurred since late spring time frame, and it's now an opportunity to share with you all some of the work that's been done today. Again, as Mark said, nothing's been decided about anything yet. It's a big community process that's about to get started, and we're really just presenting the work product today and some options that have resulted from this study. But it's a real exciting time right now. We've done this a lot around the Commonwealth, and it's a really exciting time, as in our experience, starting to engage the public with a potential project that might come out of the study. I've got an agenda here. This will take a little bit of time. I think probably it might take 45 minutes or so to get through the information. And as Mark said, we'll be glad to answer any kind of questions that might come up at the end of the presentation. We'll do a quick summary of the facility assessment. The study that we were charged with doing included doing a facility assessment not only of the high school but the stadium and also 5 elementary schools. And we'll share with you the facility assessment that we did with the high school back in late spring, which really involved our team of architects and engineers coming down, spending some time with Mark, with Jay, and others with the division, walking around over a couple of days, assessing the condition of the high school, and really to start to generate a list of deferred maintenance items, just things that kind of needed to be fixed. It's not, it's completely normal routine for those kind of things to be identified through a study. And then part of the study too, we start looking at maybe some master plan options for something that might happen here, whether it's a renovated school, an addition renovated school, or maybe something that might be a new replacement school. Again, just provide a lot of options for the community to discuss and to decide. We'll go through kind of the why. Why might it be important to do something here at the high school? We'll do a quick summary of the programming that we've done. We've done some initial programming with Mark and his staff to look at what might be an appropriate size for a renovated school or a new school, and what kind of instructional content that might be taught within some sort of renovated or new high school. We've done some work on what a renovated or a new top-door stadium might look like. I think that information has been shared with the public back in the late spring. Then Mark will again maybe summarize the next steps. I know you mentioned there's an extensive community outreach program that's been set up over the next 2 months that will really start to engage you all, teachers, parents, throughout the entire county, and then we'll take some questions. So for the facility assessment, we had a team of, we had an architect, a mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineer, structural engineer, and a civil engineer come down as a team to assess the condition of the high school. Anybody familiar with the high school, you won't be really surprised with some of the things that we found. In terms of architectural items, we looked at the exterior envelope, we looked at accessibility, we looked at seating, general finishes, architectural technology. Maybe not go through all these in detail, but some of the big things that came out of the architectural component were certainly the building envelope. You can walk around the perimeter of the building and see bricks starting to fall off. There's some moisture issues within the building envelope. An exterior skin is causing the brick veneer to start to pop off. There's certainly accessibility issues throughout the school in terms of accessible toilets, door hardware, even entrance into the auditorium, the ramp down exceeds the 1 to 12. And it's not unusual, again, the building was built in 1979, so it's not unusual for these things to have been identified during a facility assessment. Site, we looked at pavement conditions, stormwater, curb and gutter, those kind of things. Again, nothing terribly alarming. The paving probably needs to be refurbished in terms of mill and overlay. Certainly in terms of the stadium, there's lots of issues there, which we've talked about before with the stadium being presented in the past. Generally, the site is okay compared to the condition of the building, and just needs, I think, some increased deferred maintenance. Structural, there's certainly some issues in terms of settlement back in the CT wing. Anybody can walk back through, you can see some movement in the slab, some differential movement in the slab. Same thing again with some of the lintels, the large openings that face the loading dock. Again, that's primarily probably due to moisture infiltration within the envelope. Again, nothing that can't be corrected, but certainly some things that we identified. Mechanical and plumbing, the systems to the building are original to the building and have not been replaced. They're nearing 40 years old. Trying to find parts for the air handling equipment and some of the mechanical equipment is becoming difficult because of the age of the equipment. So again, it's time, regardless of whatever happens to the school in terms of any sort of project that might emerge from the study, certainly the infrastructure in terms of building systems has reached at the end of its useful life. Same thing with the electrical systems. We found the lighting levels generally in the classrooms don't meet the kind of the minimum guidelines that are recommended by the Virginia Department of Education. Again, older light fixtures, not very efficient in terms of energy usage. All of the electrical equipment in terms of, switchgear and panel boards, all original to the building. Again, difficult to find parts when things need repair. So that's kind of the 30,000 foot level in terms of the condition of the building. Again, those who are familiar with the building, who live in the building day to day, those who visit the building from a community perspective, I don't think any of these things are really surprising in terms of the things that we found. So we'll move into the why. Why should you consider doing any sort of improvements in the high school? And we'll look at terms of needs and then kind of get into maybe some images of what things could look like at some point. In terms of infrastructure needs, ADA, we mentioned toilets, accessibility to the auditorium, door hardware, old door hardware with the round knobs instead of the compliant levers. We talked a little bit about the exterior skin, the envelope, the HVAC system, again, is the end of its useful life. Outdated controls in terms of the building automation system, which is actually kind of important in terms of Jay being able to monitor the condition of the building, in terms of monitoring controlling set points within the HVAC system so that it runs efficiently, provides a good climate for teachers and students, and also minimizes operating costs. So they're all kind of tied together. And again, I mentioned the lighting levels. In terms of infrastructure, original electrical equipment, outdated plumbing fixtures, in terms of water usage, certainly a lot of savings can be done in terms of water usage and utility costs. And then getting into more safety kind of issues. There's no sprinkler system in the building right now. There's no security and alarm system. There are 55 exterior doors that are not on any sort of alarm. So if the door is open, there's no door position switch, so there's no signal when somebody leaves the building for the school day. A signal is not, there's no way to send a signal back to Mike in his office and admin to know what might be happening at that door during the school day. So that's important from a safety and security measure, is the ability to monitor who's coming and going through the building. There's really no security protocol coming into the building. You walk in the front door, you get to the vestibule, and then you're into this large open lobby space with a visitor desk that's through the lobby. Again, admin is remote. It's up a half flight of stairs. There's really no visual way, no passive security as folks come into the building, and certainly throughout the school day. And that's something that does need to be addressed. And again, I mentioned the number of exterior doors that have no ability to be monitored. The security camera system is outdated, and it's old, just images of what those cameras look like. Hallway width is really narrow. Mike put together a really neat PowerPoint that specifically addressed safety and security in terms of the hallway width. Just in terms of width, the typical width in the hallways is about 8 feet, enough for 4 students to stand shoulder to shoulder, which is really difficult to supervise from an administration perspective, especially during class change, lockers are being used. There's just too much opportunity for kids to kind of interact in that very difficult environment to control and to administer. And then again, there are lots of nooks and crannies in this school, insufficient width and steps and stairways. The building's on 5 different levels, so it's just a really difficult building to supervise. In terms of instruction, and again, I mentioned administration is remote. It's very difficult to get the admin if you don't know where you are when you're coming into the building. There are no teacher planning areas throughout the building. That's a very big part of instruction nowadays, and providing a professional place for teachers to collaborate, for teachers to plan together, for cross-curricular instructional content to be developed. If a social studies and English teacher want to collaborate on some common content, there's really no place for teachers to work together. The CT spaces in the science labs are outdated, existing casework that's really old and worn. The CT spaces now are really maybe oversized for what's being taught in there. There's some consolidation of programs, so they really need to be outsized. In terms of instructional technology, there's not really a lot of parity within technology throughout the school, and it's outdated. And it really lacks a lot of the spaces that are really required for 21st century education in terms of project-based learning, students working in small groups, teachers working in small groups. There really isn't a variety of flexible spaces in the school for those kind of instructional activities to occur. So the first thing that we did in terms of starting to develop options and some costs assigned to some of these things was after the facility assessment was completed, we looked at a series of deferred maintenance items that we identified. What it might take to resolve all the ADA issues in the school, what it might take to resolve some of the building envelope issues in terms of window replacement, getting more efficient windows in place, and some of the exterior walls. We developed that, lead us in a study that might be posted on the website. It studies 220 pages or something like that with a lot of detail. I tried to summarize that into one slide, but we looked at deferred maintenance in a series of intervals, what we thought might be an immediate need, what might need to occur 5 years out, what might need to occur 10 years out, and then what might need to occur 15 years out. So the immediate need in terms of architectural items only, this is just kind of fixing what's here, not really improving anything here. In terms of education, it was almost $10 million in architectural items, ADA, window replacement, and exterior wall repair. For civil work, not terribly substantial from what we've seen in other high schools around the state. This does not include anything with the stadium. It really has to do with asphalt refurbishment, sidewalk refurbishment, and those kind of things. Mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems, again, this is a big ticket item. Again, the systems are original to the building, as I mentioned before. So just to replace electrical components, switchgear, panel boards, those sorts of things, air handling equipment, building controls, almost $20 million in just MEP kind of things. So just in terms of fixing what's here and not improving the educational environment was almost, well, a little over $31 million in just deferred maintenance items. So what doesn't this fix? Again, those are just deferred maintenance items, so it doesn't really fix any security, so it doesn't add security vestibule, doesn't really enhance any of the spaces, doesn't relocate admin, doesn't really address those at all. The administration would remain remote. Circulation issues, some of the choke points around the building, some of the issues with the basement of the band and course areas would remain. Some of the exterior walls issues would remain. To really fix the envelope, you really need to pull the majority of the brick down to get back in and fix some of those water infiltration issues, and the money that we've set aside in deferred maintenance will resolve some of the more obvious, more pressing needs. And there may be some accessibility issues that will remain primarily at the front door, and what will resolve the slope getting up to the main entry would be fixed in terms of the deferred maintenance. What else does it not fix? In terms of instructional quality, again, it's just deferred maintenance items. It wouldn't really provide any enhanced areas within the schools, no teacher planning areas, no collaborative areas for student collaboration, project work. The CT spaces would largely remain as is, except for new electrical and lighting. A lot of the spaces back in the CTE wing that are kind of landlocked and not having a lot of natural light, those would remain. And then deferred maintenance wouldn't address any outdated instructional technology. What deferred maintenance, again, would really fix is just building systems that are outdated to the school. So we've been working with the design committee. We've come up with 4 kind of big umbrella topics in terms of why improve Halifax County High School. And again, we're just presenting information today with some options about additional renovation options and new replacement options, but sort of the bigger topics are maybe why should the community consider making any sort of improvement here. So 4 sort of umbrella topics: building and site infrastructure, kind of the nuts and bolts of the school; community pride, kind of enhancing community pride and making it more of a focal point for the community. It might provide greater outreach and greater community connection through some improved spaces. Greater impact on learning, really providing spaces and instructional content that can really prepare graduates of Halifax County High School whether they go off to college or a 2-year degree program or out in the workforce through trades, providing a really quality high school, whether it's renovated or new, that can really develop those graduates. And then finally, safety and security, how those might be addressed. So in terms of building site infrastructure, improved building systems, replacing the electrical system, replacing lighting with LED lighting, replacing the mechanical system with a greater efficient system with energy recovery and heat recovery and those sorts of things, would result in greater efficiency and also result in some reduced operating costs by having all those new systems that are modern and efficient. Same thing with an improved envelope by replacing the windows and addressing some of the envelope issues. You're going to have a tighter building envelope again that would make those new building systems run more efficiently, which would reduce operating costs. And also improve some site circulation. Maybe consider removing that drop-off loop and making the site function and access to the building better for students and better for public during after-hour events. Improved accessibility. The image on the left is existing toilet center. Your now image on the right are new modern toilets in terms of energy efficient fixtures, materials that can be easily maintained, scrubbed down, and washed. Improved interior circulation. Again, the image that was shown before is 4 students shoulder to shoulder to shoulder, and a new sort of main corridor. This is a high school that we did in Lynchburg, where there's lots of space for students to interact, to change classes without having any necessarily engage each other, but so much through the circulation. And again, providing an ability for administrators to better administer the building that results in a safer learning environment for students. The second thing is community pride and community focal point. And we divided these things into kind of 3 major public components of the high school here. One's the stadium, the second will be the auditorium, and the third will be the gym. And why any sort of renewal of those 3 kind of community components might create an improved sense of community pride. In terms of completely replacing the stadium, I think that's been discussed again late spring. It can support new school functions, maybe new school programs. With a turf field, you can have those spaces activated more frequently without tearing up the field. New community events, new school sports, new youth leagues, new adult leagues. Again, trying to increase the attractiveness of this locality and this school for families moving in, for businesses moving in. There's a facility that can support improved or an expanded youth football and soccer programs, adult sports leagues. Again, I think that might increase community pride and make it more of a really community focal point for this entire complex for Halifax County. And then there'll be a recurring theme on all three of these slides in terms of recruitment and retention of students and families. A huge component of a high school, especially a school division where there's a single comprehensive high school. We see it all across the Commonwealth where a single high school division within high school is really a community center 24 hours a day, 7 days a week throughout the entire school year. So having a quality facility can facilitate that recruitment. Also, the new recruitment of new industries and professionals, whether you engage community college programs or new industries that might engage adults in some new program. So these are just some of the images. Again, the images on the right are images that have been shared throughout the study. I think has been presented publicly in the school board in the past. And then just some images on the left as the current commissioner stated. In terms of the auditorium, same kind of thing, a renovated auditorium or a new auditorium that ends up becoming a new school to support a greater swath of community events, more regional plays and regional musical activities, dance and cheerleading groups or play groups or something like that, and even faith-based groups that might want to use this facility for their activities as well. Again, retention and recruitment of students and families and industries and professionals having a first-class kind of performing arts facility. Again, that's not uncommon to a comprehensive high school. It's a single high school and a division to have that auditorium be the community focal point for performances. And then the last component for community pride and focal point is the gymnasium. Again, adult leagues, community leagues, cheerleading competitions, those kind of things. Winter sports, again, having that kind of space that can really provide that kind of community outreach be a focal point. Third kind of umbrella topic is the impact on learning and really trying to bring up the types of spaces that are here in the high school and how they can support instruction that really promotes 21st century skills. Having modern, updated CTU programs, the CTU spaces that really prepare students for their next phase in life. Modern professional teacher planning areas, I mentioned that before, by providing professional spaces for teachers to collaborate and work together. Having flexible collaborative learning spaces that really promote student individual work, small group work, project-based work, cross-curriculum kind of work. It's a variety of sizes, whether it could be breakout spaces in corridors, or there might be providing a larger lecture space. We see that in a lot of high schools that we've done and folks have done around the Commonwealth, having a lecture kind of space that can be used for multi-class collaboration, also for PTA meetings, school board meetings, those kind of things. And a big thing too in terms of new space is it can be more efficiently used. There's a lot of space in the existing CT wing that is just not used efficiently because it was designed for instructional content that was being delivered 40 years ago. And those kind of spaces really need to be kind of rethought in terms of the kind of spaces that need to support 21st century instruction. And again, these are just some examples of some spaces. Again, some compare and some contrast. Upper left is a general classroom. You see cord reels from the ceiling. You see sinks and casework around the perimeter. You can teach any sort of core subject in that classroom, whether it's English, social studies, light science, math, even some light CTE kind of programs in that single space. The image on the upper right-hand corner is that kind of forum space I was talking about, a space where you can put 120 kids and chairs. You can do testing in there. You can do school board meetings and PTA meetings. You can do small productions, especially for English and small plays and those sorts of things. A modern science room there on the left with abundant storage and natural light and connections to the outside. And then a media center that's full of natural light, again, that can start to incorporate even some CTE and special needs programs. This is the media center learning common space at Heritage in Lynchburg, where before we did that project, part of their life skills program was a roving coffee bar where they were teaching those students some tangible life skills about running a small business. So they would take that cart throughout the school and set up sometimes in commons areas or the library or in the media center and be part of their instructional content. So they made the conscious decision to build in a coffee bar as part of that instructional program in the new media center. So the first third of that media center is really like a Starbucks or Barnes & Nobles where kids can come in, they can collaborate together, they're welcome to bring food and drink. It's really more of a big social space and also incorporates a tangible instructional program through their special needs program. And then the last umbrella topic is safety and security. The entrance there to the high school that we're familiar with there on the left, and then more of a modern, open security vestibule. There's a check-in desk. It's all secure. You're not able to get into the school until you kind of pass through the security desk with either your school badge or even through the verified system. And again, kind of limiting access during the school day so that we know, and the administration knows who's coming and going at any point during the school day. Just some compare and contrast of open stairwells versus the closed stairwells, and instead of having 5-foot wide stairwells on each side for students to move, having open stairwells that can be easily supervised from one administrator that can supervise a large swath of space. Again, an image there on the right, it might be an example of something like that. So as part of the study, we did do some programming just to kind of look at what might be a starting point for a potential renovation, additional renovation option, or even a replacement option. Just kind of looking at a wide swath of options that can be developed and can ultimately be discussed and considered by you all and others in the community. So there was a design committee that was created of about 12 or 14 folks that we've met with on occasion pretty frequently over the past 6 months. And we met with Mark and his staff to really look at, we asked them to kind of close their eyes and kind of think about what instruction might look like in a renovated or new school, or what might be the target capacity, and what might be some of the things. And all of this is really, again, just a planning exercise. None of this is necessarily written in stone at all. But in order for us to develop tangible options that had some realistic cost to it, we had to figure out kind of what the thing was, how much square footage might be needed for a new school, and how much square footage might result from an addition renovation option. So just some of the key points there. A target capacity of 1,500 students. I think we're like 1,520 or something like that right now. Give or take, I know the September 30 numbers will be coming up shortly. And then also to design core spaces for maybe some potential growth at some point. If it really does become a magnet and a source of recruitment and retention. And what that means is that those core spaces in terms of the media center size and the dining room size might be sized to handle 200 extra students, but in terms of the instructional capacity, we would start with 1,500 students. We talked a lot about the relationship of extended learning areas, some of these collaborative learning kind of spaces that are really needed today, and how that might efficiently be woven into a common space, and how that might be woven into a media center space. So students have a variety of spaces that they can study in, they can learn in, they can interact with other students in, from large group setting to small group setting to even smaller group setting, following through individual spaces. So students might have a variety and a choice of spaces that they could engage in, especially during downtime. There's a lot of discussion on the CTE program and what that might look like in terms of new programs, consolidated programs, how it might be featured, whether it's in a new or renovated school, how curriculum might be self-sustaining, and one of those things we talked about with the special needs kind of coffee bar. I know there's a really robust set of industries here, and how the CT program might be tied into that, so that these programs might be making tangible things as part of the curriculum, so that they can be sold in the community or pursued in the community, so that these programs might be self-sustaining. We talked a lot about what a new auditorium might look like in terms of the size and kind of capacity in this space versus how often it's full. Whether it's a lecture room model or a no lecture room model, a lot of times auditoriums will have two big lecture rooms in the back that are sometimes a really underutilized space, and then starting to morph into the discussion of maybe instead of having unused or not very frequently used lecture space, having one of these forum spaces that we found to be really used all the time for larger group work, for PTA meetings, those kind of things. Whether it's in a renovated school or a new school, and certainly having a gym that has no less capacity than what you have now, that's very important. If it ended up being a new school, what that gym might look like in terms of the variety of courts and what kind of things might happen. Certainly a school of this size can certainly support a large 3 full-size court gym that might have 2 different types of dividing walls, a soft wall and a hard partition, so that you have maximum flexibility of space. So that during the fall, a perfect example might be today. We've got a volleyball match, a volleyball tournament going on. We don't need the full capacity of the gym. You can drop the hard partition, open up one side of the gym with bleachers and the competition court for volleyball, and the basketball guys are out there doing all sorts of really difficult looking conditioning drills. Those things can be happening on the other side of the gym in terms of how you partition that off. And then finally the stadium. We'll just kind of touch on the high points in terms of definitely consider synthetic turf. It's almost a must now in large high school operations for maximum use of that field. It reduces maintenance costs in terms of time spent mowing, time spent seeding, the cost of all those kind of things. And you just can make that field as long as you've got supervision 24 hours a day. The need for 2 support buildings, expanded field house, and then concession on the tour building. So we went through a kind of a detailed process of what might be a program for a new school. Again, this was really for us to give us some guidelines when we started to apply some costs on what a new school might be. Again, a school of this size, we're looking at about 263,000 square feet. We're at about 303,000 square feet now. Again, this school was designed for about 2,000 kids. There's a lot of inefficient use of space. So, we do have an addition renovation option. We end up being about 280,000 square feet. I'll go through that when we get into the options. But regardless of what option, or there might be some other option that's developed at some point, but in terms of the 2 major options that we're going to show, you do end up with a smaller footprint, newer systems, again, more efficient operation, whether it's new or addition renovation. So we've got 2 options we'll look at, and then we'll kind of go through the stadium again as a refresher. We looked at, and again, this is somewhat arbitrary. We're just providing some information in terms of what we saw maybe is a good compromise as an option to be presented and discussed in terms of an addition renovation. Generally, the bones of the building within the CTE wing are in pretty good shape. And the CT wing is problematic for lots of reasons in terms of some of the settlement issues and structural issues, and just in terms of the width of that footprint is difficult in terms of putting new CT spaces in, whether it's really too wide for the single loaded corridor and all the spaces out on one side, and it's really not wide enough for CT spaces to have a central corridor and larger spaces on each side. So this option we developed, reorienting the front of the building to tear down this corner of the building, which is the really problematic basement areas and the music areas that are difficult to supervise, and to tear down the CTE wing, and then to rebuild a new properly sized CTE wing. Again, it's kind of a way to showcase the CTE programs that are here, that might be coming, and certainly a way engage the community and businesses and industry. So as shown here, new front door located here, and I'll get into the plan in just a minute, but just in terms of the site plan. New CT wing located here, complete refurbishment of the site, a redirection of the site in terms of where a bus loop might go to engage entry into the building, removing that traffic circle, which is just a lot of wasted site space, leaving it with a much more efficient site. Parking remains located up here, and then the additional practice field and tennis courts could be relocated into that location. I know this is hard to read. I think this is included in the study mark that's posted, and I think, well, certainly this presentation will end up being posted on the website as well, but I'll just walk through quickly. Again, these are just planning options. Again, it was to develop what might be a reasonable option in terms of a renovated, an addition renovation option, the logical location of where spaces might be located. It is certain that if the community decides to do an addition renovation option, it most likely won't be that, because there'll be a much more robust community-wide involvement in terms of how a project might be developed. But again, at the master plan level, we developed something that could be used for development of cost estimates that is a viable option. So new front door located here, it has logical adjacency with the gymnasium and auditorium. Repurposing the space along where the admin is located now into new band core spaces, new art spaces. This kind of becomes a performing arts, visual arts kind of wing. Again, by removing these troublesome spaces here, making them a new front door, you kind of eliminate some of those difficult spaces to supervise. The gymnasium will remain as is, but renovated, and then a brand new CT kind of space. The space is located most closely to the rest of the school, would be new science classrooms, new math classrooms, and then CT space is located here, some of the bigger kind of shop spaces, building trades, the robust automotive program you have here, welding, those kind of things. What this option does do is eliminate the third level that we currently have of the existing CT wing. Again, it's kind of right-sizing the school and right-sizing the spaces. Again, we're about 303,000 square feet, and through repurposing some of these other spaces, building back a new CT wing, we would not need to build back 3 levels, but only 2. Again, that creates an easier building to supervise, easier building for students to navigate through to the school as well by just removing that one level. The balance of admin located here, maybe a 2-story admin with administration on the lower level, guidance and counseling on the upper level, completely renovated media center. What this option does in terms of cost, it touches every single surface. So comparing that to the deferred maintenance number, where it really just addresses immediate needs in terms of building systems and infrastructure, an addition renovation option would include a comprehensive renovation of all the spaces that remain. So that would mean, like in the auditorium, for instance, a slab would come up, probably a new stage. This space would become ADA accessible, all new acoustic treatment, all new auditorium seating, stage, technology, lighting, sound systems, those kind of things. That would be throughout the entire building. So really the goal of an addition renovation option would be that when the project is completed, you have a new 50-year building that you really don't have to do much with until Jay has to start in 25 years replacing mechanical systems. So just some of the highlights here, maybe not get into all of these. Adequate parking, over 660 spaces located here, relocated, kind of rethinking how the site operates, putting the main entry maybe more a logical place, a place that's easier to access. The existing auditorium, gym, cafeteria, and kitchen will remain, but again, all those spaces will be completely renovated in this option. Again, a new 2-story academic wing that has science and math and CTE, and then a complete renovation of the rest of the school. And every surface will be touched in terms of the cost that we came up with. The finishes, new instructional technology, the furniture, all those kind of things. So in terms of cost and how we develop cost models, we develop them based on really 4 different levels of construction: new construction, a light renovation, medium renovation, and heavy renovation. I'll start with light renovation first. Light renovation is kind of the base point. That means you get all new systems, all new finishes, all new instructional technology. Every surface is touched, fully renovated, except that we're not really moving walls around. So that's kind of the starting point in terms of the cost model. When you get into a medium renovation, you do everything that's in light renovation, and then you're relocating walls. So it might be right-sizing, undersized core classrooms. You might be reconfiguring the media center in terms of having the right size spaces in there in terms of support spaces. And in the heavy renovation, you get everything in light renovation and everything in medium renovation. And you're getting into slabs. So that's really focused on locker rooms, toilets where you're getting in and replacing under slab utilities, under slab piping. So that's really difficult, kind of nasty work. And then you have to do construction of it. So what these costs include are all those kind of costs. It includes the demolition of the CPE wing, includes the reconfiguration of the site, the demolition of existing site components, new tennis court lighting, and then project costs that are beyond the construction costs that would include material testing, inspections, structural technology, design fees, those kind of things. What this also includes, because it would be a phased occupied project, is that built into these other costs would be a number of portable classrooms. We talked, I think, a little bit about this at the June school board meeting. That's a real cost. As you're renovating space, at any point in the building, those students have to go somewhere, so there would be a temporary portable classroom situation that would happen in this particular option, and those costs are built into that $800,000 number for project costs. Then we looked at a replacement option. Again, this is a cleaner kind of construction. Existing school would remain in operation. You would not need portable classrooms. It'd be a little shorter in construction duration. This would completely reconfigure the site. This part of asphalt located here would be reconfigured into the bus loop. Main front door located here. All new parking located here, and some of the site athletic components might be shuffled around a little bit in terms of tennis and softball and a practice field. Again, to try and maybe think about the site in a different way and maybe more efficiently based on where a new school might be located. So where this large swath of asphalt is located on this image is where the existing high school is. So there's sufficient room there to the west of the existing high school for a new high school to be built with minimal disruption to existing operations here. When the school is open, we then tear that school down and then put parking back. The costs for this are a little more straightforward. We're not dealing with any sort of renovation. It's really just new construction, new site configuration, the demolition of the existing building, and some of those lighting enhancements at athletic fields. And again, the other costs here do not include the portable classroom costs that really would not be needed in this kind of option. And then we'll just close. Of course, I'll talk about next steps and taking questions. Just a reminder of some of the work that the group's done in terms of a completely enhanced stadium experience. I think these images have been shared before. One of the big things was relocating and reassigning where home stands are versus visitor stands for vision and sunlight. Home stand is located here on the left side of the stadium, which is where visitor stand is located now. Again, by completely demolishing the existing field, the old track, and have a little more compact kind of arrangement since the track's located down the hill. Large parking area here that's primarily for the home side. A variety of access points depending on the size of the event. You know, if it's a big football game on Friday night, you might have 3 different access points because you've got folks coming from 3 different areas. If you've got a soccer match, in the spring, you might only have 1 point of entry depending on the crowd where they're coming from. New concessions building, ticket booth, expanded field house. The field house that's there now, the bones are good, it's about 95 or 600 square feet. So in this option, I think that building is certainly worth saving and renovating. There's certainly a need to add on to that in terms of the services that need to be consolidated down there in terms of boys and girls, team rooms, and locker rooms, training facility, coaches' offices, those kind of things really result in a larger building. Again, just some images of what it could look like. Again, this is just a master plan. We again, worked with the committee to kind of develop what might be just some parameters about some of the size of the support buildings. We sort of know what a turf field costs and what bleachers cost. Again, to come up with an option that we can assign cost to, knowing that these options are going to evolve as the community and you all get involved in the process. So just some enhancements at a new stadium. There'd be a dedicated shuttle drop-off and pickup point. Again, it's just because of where the stadium is located. I think parking will still have to happen in the high school, and you guys are running a shuttle there now. So the shuttle has to remain. Let's make that shuttle experience better for those who are coming. And so there's a dedicated shuttle drop-off spot. There's a ticket booth right there. There's shuttle drop-off spots. So folks who have to ride the shuttle have a much better experience getting into the stadium on Friday night. 200 new parking spaces there to the left side of the stadium, relocating home side capacity for about 4,000 folks, 3,000 on the home side, 1,000 for the visitor side. It gives you the ability to host regional events, and really with a facility like this, you can even host state events. Certainly in the spring, you can host a spring jubilee for a state soccer tournament. An expanded field house, again, to include those things, both team rooms for both boys and girls, visitor changing room, those kind of things that generate a little more square footage, and the new ticket booths and the new concession facilities. So I think these costs have been shared in the past, and we broke these out in some detail in terms of what's being renovated, what will be new, what will be demolished, and a total stadium cost of about $8.9 million. So with that, Mark, maybe we'll talk next steps after we take questions if you want to. I know Mark may want to summarize kind of, again, some of the community involvement and engagement activities that have been scheduled over the next few months. But we'll be glad to see any questions. I know it's a lot of information to take in. I talked really fast, I think. But again, I'm sure this information is going to be posted on the facility study specific website, so you all can look at it in a lot more detail. So I'll be glad to answer your questions.
Yes, sir. You talked about upgrading. Well, actually, it started out with maintenance on the envelope upgrades to this building. Right. And then you did say about the savings you have to do like that. Right. Could you come up with a figure of what those savings would be, whether you renovate this building or go to the building? Those savings should help offset the cost of either of those projects.
We are working on those now. We're working on those on a comprehensive basis. Our mechanical guys are working with Jay. We've got utility bills, fuel source bills, those kind of things. That's kind of the next step, and it's a missing piece of the puzzle for you all for financing in terms of what are you spending now, what do you know you're going to spend in the future, and can project costs get offset by some of that. So that's kind of the missing piece of the puzzle that we're working on now. So I think the next time that we get back together, certainly when we present to the school board on the 10th, we'll have those numbers by that point.
I would say on that too, is that high school, you're not going to see as much savings as you would in operating expenses of the elementary school on generating that. Would that be accurate in saying?
I don't know.
You're saying it's going to be as far as total cost.
Right. I don't know if we know that yet, because I'll give you Amanda. We talked a little bit about some images that we shared with Heritage High School that we opened with Lynchburg 2 years ago. They had a very similar high school here as you all have here. Multiple levels, lots of nooks and crannies, really inefficient operations. That project that we did for them wasn't a leap project, but it had a lot of really energy efficient kind of strategies in terms of the mechanical equipment that we chose, the envelope that we chose, that we worked with them that they wanted as well. They saved, I remember this right, almost $900,000 in operating costs for the first year that school was open compared to the old. Now, I can't say that we're going to see the same numbers here in our study, but that's a comparable kind of number. They just kind of stopped maintaining that building because they knew a new project was on the way. But you're going to see some savings for sure, and that's maybe at the high end of what you might see. But it's certainly a figure that's not unreasonable to expect. Yes, sir.
I think it goes back to practice. What this whole means about every couple of days. You bring that on?
Right.
I don't want to place with the kids sitting mechanical, last year for practice.
Right.
What's going to keep us from doing that again? We're going back to the same position 20 years. We might be on maintenance on our buildings right now. And you say you're going to assess my being 105. We might be doing maintenance on those.
In terms of overall maintenance, day-to-day maintenance, no. I mean, systemic maintenance is difficult for localities. And what we found here is not unusual to other localities in terms of having existing equipment that is still in operation. There's a very expensive proposition. But in terms of cleanliness of the buildings and the wall and the paint, those kind of things, those kind of maintenance items are very reasonable. But the big ticket maintenance items, what's happening here is not unusual from what we've seen in other localities in terms of.
Why is that?
It comes down to funding. That's a fair question. I can't answer that.
We're not doing anything without maintenance. That's the core question. You need to answer. That's the core question.
Take it one more time.
That is the core question, how these buildings going down. That answer needs to be, we've got to raise our taxes, we've got to raise the dollars, that's fine, but we need to put X, Y, Z away every year to take care of buildings. You know, coming up with 100 million courthouse, other schools, the skilled labor, debt service, other schools are paying millions and millions of dollars.
Our maintenance budget right now is 8.5%. 8.5%. That includes personnel in our budget. And I think that's accurate. 8.5% of our budget of the concept. So yes, I mean, we've got to continue to invest more in maintenance.
Do we have a maintenance plan for all the schools?
We have put a facility improvement plan in place last year. We put in place a strategic. We have a paint schedule in there, which we didn't fund this year. But we also have a roof replacement schedule in there, curb replacements, and those are things that we did implement for last year. Our board supervisor paid $400,000 year before, $200,000 this year. We'll request something like that again this year. I'm not sure what happened to this building. Okay, as far as make good, I've asked people and so forth. But a lot of it is 2,000 students have been here since 1979. Tons of wear and tear, tons of abuse to this building. It's the most used building in the fleet. You can look at every one of our buildings in our school system, all 9 of them, and 5 of the elementary schools have age to them, but none of them are in the state of this building. I mean, as far as just the infrastructure, the cleanliness, and the upkeep. So I'm not sure if it's a bad building, bad design on the front end, or if it's lack of maintenance or lack of cleanliness. I don't know when all that unraveled on us here. I do understand the importance of maintenance and upkeep and paint schedules and paving schedules and all that kind of stuff that we do need to have. And 8.5% of our budget is what we have, and that includes personnel for maintenance right now, and that number needs to increase over time.
It's, not to get sidetracked on the elementary school discussions, I think we're on high school, but I will say about elementary school in terms of maintenance and system replacement, there are areas of buildings, specifically the bulk of your existing elementary school inventory that were built in the 50s and 60s with extremely low floor to top of structure heights. So to go back in and to systemically replace HVAC systems in some of these buildings is not feasible, just because you're going to result in not adequate ceiling heights in construction spaces. So then you have to start going into looking at alternative HVAC systems, elevator systems, which starts to take up individual units per room, bar units. It's common kind of unit that sits in the corner. It has outdoor air access. You got wall holes in the wall, and it takes up square footage in already undersized classrooms. So that's been a big part of the elementary school piece is, until some discussion occurs on the elementary school piece at some point. It's renovating those schools and not replacing systems is a much different animal because you're dealing with buildings that just don't have the infrastructure to support modern HVAC systems and space education. Right.
It used to be a meal from the,
Right.
Before my time. Do you know that or you don't know that?
I've heard that before. I can say during our facility assessment, we didn't see any sign of water infiltration coming from underneath the slab. We didn't see any settlement that was alarming in terms of that might have.
But would it be the reason that this building is going down faster than the other buildings?
It could come from a variety of things. It could be underground water, and it could be a poorly compacted slab when the building was built.
Or it could be.
It could be a lot of things, sure. But kind of the next step, a logical step in this process. The first step is a facility study master plan, where we kind of do a high level kind of look at the school, work with Mark and his team with some options. To validate if there are some concerns about the quality of the soil, either underneath this building or next door, or the building might be built next door, then you go through and you do a feasibility study where the community would then decide we're going to pursue replacement school or we're going to pursue an additional renovation option. And during that feasibility study, some subsurface investigation would occur during that feasibility study to confirm what is or is not underneath.
I don't have any allergy, but in your permanent and my nose is a little bit, wet. I don't know why.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
On the cost estimation, pretty much on square footage, or you all have some sort of concrete plan, or as far as the inside as well as the
They are based on square footage costs that are detailed. We do more schools than anybody in the state. We've got a database of hundreds of projects that we keep track of. So every project that we did, we keep track of costs that are reported to us by the contractors who are working through construction projects. So we've got square foot costs on concrete, on steel, on masonry envelope, all through the CSI divisions. So that when we put together cost estimates, we look for, in our body of work, comparable quality projects, comparable size projects, and we've got an entire process that's automated from our database that starts to suggest what some current square footage costs are. We can look at when those projects are bid. We keep track of inflation. That's inflationary costs and reported to the VDOE, so we know on a year-to-year basis what inflation is in terms of construction. We can look at a project that might be spot on in terms of size and scope that was bid 6 years ago. We can inflate those numbers forward and understand our costs today. And then we can look at projected inflation and have a pretty good idea of what it might cost 1, 2, 3 years down the line.
there were a lot of parents behind teachers that caused unnecessary
Right.
movement out. This is general design as far as number of outside walls and outside walls. where it comes from.
Right.
But there's a lot of, there was a lot of ways that, middle school too. I knew when I saw those last counts for my first grade, they had to put in $1,000 in cost and prayers all the way from class. And I taught in that school for about 15 years, many years ago. And I wondered, how long was it until they changed, and what's not supposed to correct that building?
A big thing that we try to strive in high school work is to provide clear paths of travel for students that are easy for students to navigate through the school, and equally important, or maybe more important, for administrators to supervise. So that's important. So that will kind of resolve some of those, and not that we're designing these projects, but in the high schools that we do, it's important to develop a layout so that an administrator can look in one direction or another and supervise change of classes, and it's probably even more important to make those kind of things happen. And in elementary schools, sometimes elementary schools, students don't move around as much, and they're clustered in pods, but in high school, it's really important to have a really efficient, clear floor plan where students, it's obvious where they need to travel between classes, and it's easy for the administrators to supervise. And that kind of takes care of some of those, maybe some of those increased costs that might come from those advantages and those kind of things.
We don't have to have
We're not involved in that.
in that area, and I remember when TV decided to make several years ago that I was renovating for the meeting, and there is a renovating, and it passed by there over years or something. There was many renovations. The addition was a very large rectangular, very attractive. Add excess cost. And from the road, I couldn't tell, the image that I could see was not spectacular to the other college. Very nice, but I didn't know it was more showing that. It's really interesting. That was in the one-story laptop. Curiosity was up yesterday. Friday. Yesterday, I called the school. I read about it. So about school, but it is, it's over 1,000, the school population is over 1,000. And it's just, I really got to hope what they had done. It looks like it would be very cost-effective, and yet it's very attractive. And that's what I want to be able to do, not to do it. I like to
as a teacher in this building, when we're doing, we do renovate, and we do all renovate. How many classes do you estimate will be ousted out of the building and into a trailer while the construction is going on?
I think in the estimate that we put together, we estimated 20 trailers. And again, it's just, we're spitballing at that point. It has to do with what the actual project phasing would be and what makes sense in terms of what square footage you grab to renovate, but in terms of having a starting point and have a plug number. So I think we figured 20 trailers over about 28 months. And the way that cost is built, a monthly rental for each trailer, is a setup and tear down charge for each rental in terms of getting power and data and those kind of services to it. So I think at any given time there might be 20 classes try to, when we phase projects again, I'm never going to do this yet, but when we do a project similar, we try to, in terms of phasing, try to keep the renovation time each phase in the 3 to 4 month range. Anything beyond that seems difficult in terms of moving kids around. Ideally, you can get 3 sections of the building renovated during a school, a single academic year. That's kind of the target. So you end up with a project like this, if it is a renovation route, it might be a target of maybe 3 summers and 2 academic years. So 26 months or so.
How long would it take to build a new school?
The new school would be about 20 months for the new school itself, and then probably 4 months to tear down the existing school and then to renovate the site in terms of your asphalt.
Okay. One more question. Would the new school, if you did a new school, would it have a flat roof like this one, or would you do an A roof?
It'd be up to the design team and the locality. That's not really discussion. The cost estimate that they put together at this level can accommodate either one. And there are issues with both types. It just depends on, what Jay and the staff might want to maintain over a period of time, whether it's metal or membrane.
Are there any current needs that have to be replaced in the current school? And are those numbers figured into the replacement or rebuild of the building in the school? They basically, if they decide to go with one or the other, is that going to be a 4-year period? Oh, we just looked at all 4 years. So anything that needs to be handled now?
What we'd identified that needed to be handled now is that $31 million in deferred maintenance.
Is that figured into the 88 million?
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So not 88 plus?
It's not 88 plus, absolutely not. It's one of the other.
The other thing you're talking about, on what he asked, you did not survey or look at the land to tell that this is indeed swampland underneath the school, like it's always said. So you're going to have to go back and get figures for that, so that's going to add to the cost together, correct?
Correct. That's it.
No idea how much that's going to or what you would do if it is actually sitting on the swampland, what would you do to correct it?
Well, the geotechnical survey is not a lot of money. I'm going to come out and drop, 6, 8 soil borings out with a geotechnical firm. To do that might be $12,000 to $15,000 to do that maybe. So that's not a lot of money in the scheme of things to determine the soil makeup adjacent to this building or the lot next door. There are different ways to mitigate. If it's really nasty, you dig it out and bring new dirt back in. If it's soil that is, a lot of times where we run into soil that is fine when it's dry, and when it's wet, it's mush. So depending on the weather cycle, if you've got to be placing concrete and prepping a building pad, you might augment that soil with stone dust or lime or something like that. So there are definitely ways to mitigate. If it's determined that there is some poor soil out here, there are definitely ways to mitigate it, to not add a ton of cost to the building. If you're starting to dig up a whole pile of dirt where you fill in, it depends on how much you're excavating, how much you have to bring in. Is it the first foot? Is it 2 feet? Is it 8 feet? Part of that just was never included in our study. It's not unusual when you're doing a master plan feasibility study. You never get into those kind of details at this point. It's really to identify potential options for a community to consider, and if a community starts to hone in on 1 or 2 options, then you might do a feasibility study, so you might have a more fine-tuned cost estimate, might do a little more design work, and we certainly start to identify some geotechnical things that might influence ultimate project costs.
But that is a huge concern for a lot of the residents of this county.
Sure.
And I think until that is answered, and seeing what the dollar is that's going to go with it, I don't see how any kind of decision I don't see how we can come to a decision until we know those numbers, because if it is built on small land, we're going to have the same problem over and over and over. But I think that is something that we really we'll be right back in the same situation. And if we go with you and your plan, how long will this school last? I mean, is it only gonna be, only have a 50-year lifespan? Going in, whether it's remodeled or you build a new one, is it 50 years that all the buildings will last?
We would expect to get more out of it. If you use really good construction materials, concrete block and brick on the outside, if things that have to be replaced over time, but the structure of the building will last significantly longer than 50 years in terms of concrete block, load-bearing walls, and a steel frame. But this building will last longer. But there are inherent issues with this building that are really difficult to fix in terms of supervision and the quality of the space. So any sort of new building that is thoughtfully designed by you all in the community, the rules of thumb are every 25 years you replace your roof. That's going to happen whether it's a 25-year building, a 50-year building, or a 75-year building. Every 25 years you got to go in and replace your air handling equipment, your HVAC equipment. Those are just, that's just the typical industry lifespan for some of those systems. But in terms of the infrastructure of the building, the concrete slab, the steel frame, load-bearing walls, those will last significantly longer than 50 years. Oh, it could last 200 years. Right.
The bones of this building are in good shape.
The bones of this building, parts of it are in good shape. The CT wing are in less than good shape because of the settlement structural issues. In terms of the structural frame here, sure, but if you look at the envelope, what would need to happen to turn this back into a long-term viable building, you need to pull all the brick off this building and put a brand new skin on it because of the water infiltration issues that are here. So when you start looking at that, you're paying significantly more than per square foot than what you would if you're buying or if you're building a brand new school. So, and it's not exactly apples and apples in terms of the bones of the building, but if you build a new building that has a properly designed exterior envelope, with an air barrier, quality of construction materials, it's completely reasonable to think that building's going to last longer than 50 years. As Mark mentioned, there are inherent issues with the building, whether it's a poor design or poor construction, that would be very expensive to fix. Even though the slab's fine, even if you pull the block off the walls, the steel's fine, that's just part of it. It's the entire kind of thing taken as this entirely.
There's one thing it's not all Austin or this. I mean, the middle school is going to be a 100-year building that's out in hell. It's been renovated, fix it up at some point. You have 5 elementary schools, you've got the money's worked out of those as a community. I mean, they're all built like 2018, so that's, you're getting close to 70 years on those. So if there has been some good upkeep in building. This building in particular is challenging, and that's why we're here tonight. The normal and simple, I mean, you've got, if you sit back and look perspective-wise, you've got your money's worked out back in the middle school. I mean, the middle school, they fix it up, it's renovation, and it's going to last for a good while in the future. And your elementary school, you've got them from 50s until 2018. And this school is, consider your goal 50 to 75 years on school, and this one's at 40, and it's got some inherent problems to it now. So it's all not lost on maintenance. And get the building 50 to 75 years is pretty typical, but you've got to fix it up at some point. That's just part of it. I mean, that's part of it. The building projects, let's be clear, in Halifax County or any school system, every so often you're coming back to fix schools up because these buildings are used all the time. I mean, they're used, and that's part of what we're doing is creating a plan to address not just high school and the elementary schools. It's the upkeep of buildings is never going to go away. It's just part of the process of what we've got to go through here.
So has the roof and the HVAC been replaced every 25 years like what has been recommended on this school?
The HVAC has not been. The HVAC the roof was replaced in
the last 5 or 6 years. Generally, the roofs around the entire inventory.
Yeah, we wish every day. Yeah. The HVAC is not. That was a real problem here.
What was the rationale behind deciding the reconstruction of the on the other part side of this building? We're not
is plenty of land to do all sorts of different things in terms of site configuration. Again, none of these are the final design. We work with Mark and his team to come up with final options that we can put cost to. So the cost isn't going to change if this becomes a project and the building might go in front of the existing building versus beside the existing building and you shuffle asphalt around. It's just moving big dollars around a site. So it can ultimately be designed, a half a dozen different ways probably. But we just needed to hone in on one, one option that we decided cost to. The field next door just kind of jumped off the page in terms of that's a logical place for a building. We keep parking kind of intact during construction if you do a replacement project, just in terms of construction sequence, it seemed to make sense to us, but it doesn't mean there are other ways that can be done.
Have y'all done the assessment on the elementary schools to know where it's going to take money-wise and
We've done all the assessments, and we're working on options right now. And some of those options, are going to include probably a more detailed life cycle and operating cost analysis to see, if there is, a decision by the community to consolidate schools, what might be saved by closing this school or that school. We're just working on that information now, and that's going to be a community discussion there. No, we're still crunching numbers right now on those. Right. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
We got a ton of population. There's a reason for going to putting on a house school in an area. I don't think in the street. They don't keep on developing. That's discussing people that walks through the people. So the economic development is going to be a key thing to pay for this sort of thing.
Right. We didn't really look at that option. It's in terms of if there's
The question is, if we put them in the second high school in order in the county, in one of the southern county, and there's some challenges to that as well. One is this building is still in concussion. Then when you do it for middle school as well, all roads going to middle school, you have the cost of the operating expense of running two high schools instead of one, which is going to be double the administrative cost and all that. So that's a challenge on it, and probably briefly focused in on a single high school, because that's the model that we had. You have a middle school that's recently been renovated, and it makes sense to do it that way. I mean, I do think that been kicked around creating two. But looks like the population is declining and makes more sense in Will County. That would be accurate. Our kindergarten enrollment is up this year, about 40 students, so I think that's a good thing.
Halifax County, the population is getting older, poorer, more people on the system. Some people need to have a system they can't even get it. We do not have the tax base yet to carry all of this, especially with all the renovation at the courthouse in Halifax. Somebody has got to tighten the purse strings and make do.
That's the question.
What's the amount if we can't afford the bigger one? Y'all talking about, don't do this, don't, remodel, don't do it. If you can't afford a bigger one, what's the option in? I think the fact that you go up and go on. We ain't got the money to spend on $200,000 that y'all want to run the business. That's where the big time is over.
That's ultimately a community decision. We're not here to advocate for any of these options. We're here just to present the information decision of the community. It's ultimately a community decision. Whether you absolutely, and that does that in every locality. I mean, this is not an isolated problem around the Commonwealth. I mean, we've been involved in several states with the exact same thing, and it always comes down to dollars. And
if we cut some of these now, we're starting like to do something.
yes, sir.
When this school was built, they moved down to American Complex. They let that go down for nothing. All the windows were knocked out, it rained in it, and then later down the road, they come and redone the whole building. And after that, the board of supervisors meeting over at the school board meeting, the central office was there. It is a great time. So I would hate to see this building. I mean, y'all already done everything. That building, that building is good enough. And then we had the STEM son that is in California, two back over there. That is much older than this. They have very nice classrooms, and the kids enjoy going over there. So I see that you would have to renovate versus spending extra money. In history of what we do, I know hindsight's not always the best thing to look at, but in the past, that's what we've done with the county.
The stated overall cost included in the estimate for the building or repair over.
Yeah, that $9 million in addition to the addition renovation option for high school. That $8.9 million is in addition to either the new option or the addition renovation. It could be a standalone project, or it could be rolled into a high school project. And if it were to be rolled into a comprehensive high school project, I'm sure there'd be some savings by combining those two into one overall project. Contractor savings, general conditions, and kind of front-end costs.
If you agree all the cities, but that plan for
We didn't get into terms of the study. What we do with the state
consider to be an alternative school, move some labs over here, have active labs over here for students. There's about 6 more STEM centers that are being used. Yes, ma'am. I don't think it's for all of them, no. I think you got programmed out the side on that. I don't know that part of it. I think it would be natural if you put STEM classes back over here. Some of those are not STEM classes anymore. They're different class over there. One of the challenges that we have is the safety part of it, with students coming in and transitioning in and out during school day, construction on the school day. And I wish I could find an answer for it on STEM at this point.
Yes, sir.
That's what if this decision was up to you, what you would do? You would renovate the school, or you would build a new from your experience? What you would do?
I'm going to pass and not answer that. That is never my decision. It is significant community investment. Whether even starting at the deferred maintenance of it, $31 million. It's significant dollars to up to whatever it might be to combine the stadium and a new high school project. That's not lost on us as architects, and we are not qualified to do that decision.
I'm not asking as an architect, I'm asking as a man.
I'm still going to pass. I'm going to pass. Taken, that option would include removing a floor of the CTE wing.
C wing.
Right, and then it would include this kind of maze down here in the building. You still need access down below to the gym and locker rooms. So it doesn't solve all the problems, but it does solve some of the problems.
You mentioned a sprinkler system. Would that be required in a renovation and new build?
Absolutely, yeah. And the level of renovation that would be included if the community decides to go a renovation option, all new life safety systems, sprinkler will be required, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And the intrusion detection system built into these options so that, even to the point that Mike and his team are carrying around like their tablet, it's tied to their phone. Alarm goes off, the door's open over there, you know exactly when that door is open, and there could be a camera on that door, so you know who's left at what time. So all that's kind of built into these processes and security systems. No, in the renovation option, the site would get reconfigured. The circle would go away, we make the site, that option would include kind of making the site more efficient and better access. Generally where they are now, but refurbished, new asphalt, new striping, and the whole goal of renovation, that kind of renovation number that we put together, is that when the project is done, there's very little for Jay and staff to do other than just routine maintenance. It's really left as close to the new school as possible. Keep it really alive.
Are there the length that it takes to renovate? Are there any studies done on test scores, like heat times or any kind of information you have? Notable impact on the suitability and that type of thing?
Not anything that I'm aware of. There's probably some obscure study out there that showed that, but I'm not aware of any. It would, that's the whole point. I mean, you're touching, in a renovated school, you're touching every surface. So you got new ceilings, that's assuming the structure is in good shape, which we found, other than the CT wing, the structure here is in good shape. So you're touching every surface, new paint, new floors, new ceilings, new lights, all the components of a new school, you're basically taking it back to the bones and building new from that point. Yes, sir. We just identified systems that are outdated that really need to be replaced. That's the immediate need. I mean, you can keep band-aiding. I mean, that's other localities do that. We do these studies all the time. Our job is to identify things that really need to be replaced because they're beyond their useful life.
You wouldn't do this if you were young.
If the community decided to do any sort of substantial project in the next 5 years, I would not recommend spending $31 million on that. But if you don't do anything to the building, you're never going to build a new building, you're never going to renovate and add onto it, then there's $31 million in immediate needs in terms of accessibility issues, toilets, switchgear, all the building infrastructure of the building has served its life, so it needs to be replaced. Can Jay keep band-aiding it? Yeah, that's what he's been doing.
You didn't mention any good point. You mentioned all bad points. The contributions, but you didn't mention any good points to the other one.
With that $31 million, you spent $31 million on it.
$31 billion doesn't do anything in terms of the instructional space. It doesn't solve any of the access points. That $31 million does not include security systems or intrusion detection systems. It doesn't solve all the choke points where there are incidents that Mike and his staff have to deal with. That's just basic infrastructure. The good points of the school, though, are the gym is fantastic. It's a great space.
And 88 million is not a number that can be taken off, simply study that and figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably other renovation options.
High school, 6 miles of roads and 25 million. They advertise the save bar school. It's about 25 million, a whole lot less than 88 million.
Okay, how old is that $25 million number?
That school is the same age as the middle school. Just 1950. It's the same size as the old school. I'm just showing the past of dollars.
Right. I've got to say this about the building. This building, the architectural design of it is challenging for us. I mean, it's on 5 different levels, and that is part of the real challenge that you face here on it as well. I mean, that's part of the renovation challenge to it, it's part of the rebuilding of it, anything you think is on 5. But the basement floor in particular is really, really challenging. All the egresses that you have, the steps are really, really challenging. That's part of any cost that you have that makes it challenging. You know, all the ground costs, all that, and there are absolutely, I mean, no way, just
He's been encouraged by a product. I'm just saying. Look at Super Bowl and Bowl survivors. These are the other.
So we're talking about 18 years ago, we're talking twice what it costs to build a house.
We won't invest in kids.
Right.
But,
But I'm just saying, I'd be interested to see what that equated to in today's market. is what
Yeah, if
I'm
you
saying.
were, anybody wants to do some quick math, we follow inflation as much as anybody. Their schools' construction costs are reported to the BDOE every July. So we take that, we monitor inflation, it's spiky, you know, 1 year it might inflate 17%, in 2007 it was like 24%, 2009 it was, 13 or 14% decrease just because of the economy. So over the last 20 years, school construction in the Commonwealth of Virginia has averaged about 6% a year. It has no correlation to what gas and what milk costs. It's real numbers reported to the BDOE. So to really understand what that $25 million cost in 2000, inflated forward 6%, and you'll see what that work would cost today.
I agree with what he's saying, and Mr. Anderson, when we done this tour a week ago, we were made the earliest picture of this building we could have seen. If we had a realtor that was here around the center building to you, they would bring you a totally different picture. My kids were educated here, I was educated here. And about the windows and all that, I mean, you can still educate kids. When we had the public forum back in the spring, I told you that what you do to the outside of the building, it does good right in the room. It's great. But if you don't teach kids in here, it's not a school. You have a house, you ain't got a home. So, I mean, same thing with school too. And a whole lot of the stuff that has gone on, like the lockers down at the store, it's from the neglect of the kids. So hopefully the kids are responsible. If it's not, they can get them out of school. They don't need to be here. They're not here to learn. That one stay here and won't learn, get them education, and you do it, it won't cost you half. You got to come from their parents. That's just my opinion.
One more question.
With the current school sinking approximately a quarter of an inch a year, if you renovate, how would you fix that? And have you considered solar panels as an efficiency for energy? And did you guys lose $4 million for the football field from the private fund?
We haven't really talked about solar panels. That's not really been part of the master plan study. It's really more of a more detailed project discussion if it were to become a project. There are several ways to resolve, if there is ongoing settlement, is to identify what the source of that is. Might do some invasive geotechnical investigation inside the building when we bring in a geotechnical firm that will go in and really identify what's causing it. A common solution might be to to slowly raise that slab. If it's really settling that amount of year, you can go with a thin layer of flowable fill. It's kind of a slurry concrete that would kind of stabilize what's happening underneath the slab. That's just one option, but really without any sort of detailed investigation, I'm just completely speculating about what a solution might be, but there are ways to fix it. We have to identify what it is and then come up with the most cost-effective way to solve it.
So how would you do that and still use the school during the school year?
Those activities would most likely be confined during the summer, not during the school year. Yes, sir.
I just like to say, I'm from the northern end of the town, and everybody I've talked to in my community, since this is the prettiest paper, I haven't met one person that went to the real one. Everybody that went to school that I have talked to, and I've talked to a lot of people in my area, I've not met one man that agrees with building and remodeling these schools. I said, that's what we need to be done and go on. We've got to clear the debt before we go get in debt again. We're at 23 before we get the debt. We're staples in our school. He brought us down and left here. Which is, should be his school, something that may do the same time.
I don't have any children in school here, but this school is an integral part of this community. Every child in this school, in this county, to go to a public school system, is going to go to this school. We need to do whatever we have to do to make sure that this school is safe, structurally, and the air in here. And I think those things that were $31 million, I think all of those things, if I'm understanding, were all security type issues.
For $31 million, you get new HVAC, new air conditioning, new electrical,
And doors.
doors.
So it's security. So it's not like that money's going to be lost. It's going to have to be done anyway. And I don't have any children, but I think this is something that we need to invest in and have it paid for. That's not a question for you because you have nothing to do with that. That's for the board of supervisors to do it with them. But I do think as a citizen of this community and as a third-year graduate from this community, we need to do something with this school in the least expensive way possible, but we want it safe for the children of this community. We want them to